Everybody's ready? I'll call the meeting to order then. Okay, call the meeting to order, and we'll have roll call and coma confirmation, please.
I think Mr. Andrew was going to handle the roll call, and
Okay.
Margie was going to handle the coma confirmation for us.
I had to get unmuted. So am I unmuted now, Justin?
Yes, we can hear you, Dean.
Okay. So in terms of roll call, Board Member Kitchen,
Yes. Here.
Board Member Noonan,
Here.
Board Member Martins,
Here.
Board Member Peltzer, absent. So we have 4 appointed members, and 3 is a quorum of the 4-member board. So we have enough people to move forward with our public meeting. I asked Margie to confirm that the Kansas Open Meeting Act has been complied with and the packet has been posted.
Yes, it has.
So that would bring us back to the chair and consideration of the minutes of your meeting in November.
Yes. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the November 12th meeting? And if so, are there any changes, recommendations? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So move.
Okay. Katie moved. Great. And Jennifer seconded. All right. All in favor, say aye.
We're gonna, for these purposes, we're gonna do a roll call
Oh, okay.
vote. So as to approval of the minutes, Board Member Kitchen,
Aye.
Board Member Noonan,
Aye.
Board Member Martins.
Aye.
That motion passes 3-0. That just helps our minutes taker to help keep track of our voting, even though there's 3 of us.
Yes. Okay. Well, so the minutes were approved. I guess we'll move down to new business and application CC 20-14. I'll let you take it, Dean, or whoever.
Yeah, this application is CC 20-14. It's filed by Mr. Jacob Wilson on behalf of Restore Construction LLC. And the request is for the board to consider approval of a certificate of compatibility to allow the demolition and renovation of existing complex of buildings located at the northwest corner of 4th Street and Walnut Street. And the street address is 211 East Walnut, and a building address is 138 South 4th Street. So, Dustin, before I go any further, do we have a representative of the applicant present?
Yes, Mr. Wilson is online right now with us.
Okay. So, the existing buildings at the northwest corner of 4th and Walnut Streets in downtown Salina are addressed as 211 East Walnut, and those were constructed in 1929 for a lumber yard operation. They have a lot of the layout and attributes that you would expect from a lumber yard. And later in the 1960s, they were occupied by a heating and cooling contractor, and very briefly by a solar energy company. And then from 1987 to the present time, the property was used as a construction warehouse for Bill Medina Construction. There is a separate brick building on the property. It's part of a 3-bay brick building. The north 2 bays of that building are being incorporated into the car museum. And so we are only discussing the southernmost bay. That was owned by Medina Construction and was leased to Images Recycling and then later to Prairie Land Market. That brick building has a separate address of 138 South 4th Street. So we have a new owner of the property, 4th and Walnut LLC, and they purchased the former Medina Construction property with plans to convert the property into a baseball training facility to be known as the yard. The plan is to demolish the large white building in the center of the site to allow room for future construction of a turf infield area with a steel structure or roof above it with netting inside the complex. In the brick building on the far north end, they plan to have indoor batting cages, restrooms, a pro shop, and a storage room. And then the existing building on the southeast corner of the lot is proposed to be dedicated for indoor pitching. Their hope is for a facility is to allow Salina and surrounding area youth, baseball and softball teams to use this facility and practice year-round. The facility is proposed to be set up as membership-based, with a foundation being created to assist youth that might not be able to afford the use of the facility. So from that standpoint, it would be somewhat similar to the YMCA. The plan is to do the work in phases, with the brick building on the north housing the batting cages being completed first, the building on the southeast corner being completed second, and then the final phase would be the outdoor structure, building B, with the turf infield. So the reason we are here this afternoon is to review 3 elements or aspects of this project. The first being the demolition of an existing warehouse building. The second being exterior modifications being proposed for 2 existing buildings. And then the third aspect of this project for the board's review is the proposed infill construction between the 2 buildings facing 4th Street. So the city has what's known as a development review team, and that's made up of staff members from fire, building services, utilities department, planning and zoning. And we meet to go over conceptual plans with people doing projects in the city. And so we met on this project on September 30th, 2020. And we informed the owners and their architect that this type of facility is not specifically listed as a permitted use in the central business district. And we requested that they submit a detailed narrative explaining how the use would operate to allow the zoning administrator to make an administrative interpretation as to whether this use would be allowed. And in order to determine that it's allowed, the zoning administrator would have to find that it has similar characteristics to YMCA facility, which would be allowed in the downtown area. We also informed the project representatives that a certificate of compatibility would have to be applied for and approved prior to the demolition of any buildings and prior to the issuance of any building permit for work involving exterior modifications or new construction. So just for the board's benefit, there is work underway on the site, but no certificates of compatibility have been applied for till now or issued. No building permits have been approved or issued by the city. There was a demolition permit applied for and was issued by building services staff in October. Without approval of a certificate of compatibility, and the center warehouse building has been removed from the site. This error was made by staff based on staff that was not familiar with the boundaries of the business improvement district. And so staff issued the demolition permit to the contractor without design review board review. So we've summarized the various design guidelines that apply in this case. We have design guidelines in regard to demolition. There are design guidelines in regard to alterations of facades and new construction. There are guidelines in regard to making building additions, and then there are design guidelines in regard to exterior colors. So in September, a demolition permit for the white metal building in the center of the site was applied for by Deal Enterprises on behalf of Restore Construction, but no certificate of compatibility application was submitted for the demolition request. We did, as a staff, erroneously issue that demolition permit without DRB approval, and the building has now been removed from the site. So just as a reminder or clarification, the Section 2207 of the city's code states that no person shall perform or cause to be performed any work to construct, demolish, or change the exterior design, material, color, texture, finish, or appearance of any building located in the Salina Business Improvement District Number 1 without first applying for and obtaining a certificate of compatibility. So that initial misstep was on our part. However, the demolition permit that was issued was not valid and is not valid because no certificate of compatibility was approved. So the DRB would need to take action on this certificate of compatibility request to retroactively validate the demolition permit. If you look at the photographs that we have of what the building did look like, it was primarily a metal building. It was not historically or architecturally significant building, and its presence interfered with the owner's plans for redeveloping the project. So, however, that decision is ultimately up to the board to decide whether the demolition met that criteria, and so that will be part of today's considerations. The second part of this is proposed replacement construction. And there's a plan to renovate the north building, the south building, referred to as Building C, and to build a new metal structure between them, referred to as Building B. A building permit application and plans have been submitted, but the elevation drawings are lacking in detail. So one of the things that we really need to go over and get assistance with today is the details of exterior materials and colors. We've received some different renderings, but those color renderings have different colors associated with them. Different drawings show different window sizes and styles, and the elevation drawings we have do not clearly indicate what the exterior building material or roof materials would be, particularly on the south building. So part of your role as a board member is to review the applicant's plans to determine whether the building design and materials will be compatible with the 4th Street streetscape and the predominant building materials in the downtown area. In staff's view, additional information is needed to make from the applicant is needed to make that determination, because we didn't have really enough detail to go over that very well in our report. So we are requesting that at today's meeting, the applicant and our architect provide additional information at the meeting about the following items. Building A, the north building, to inform the board what the proposed exterior building and roof material will be, whether the exterior color will be changed or continue to match the masonry of the car museum to the north. On building B, the color of the metal roof and fencing, that would be the covered infield. And then building C, the plans do not clearly indicate what the proposed exterior building material and roof materials would be, and they're not clear on what the exterior color of the building is proposed. Some of this work that has occurred on the property has gotten ahead of the city's review processes. It's staff's hope that all proposed exterior improvements on the property that do require review and action by this board can be addressed at today's meeting. The zoning administrator has gone through and has determined that the characteristics and attributes of this training facility have enough in common with the YMCA that it would be a permitted use of the property, and therefore we can issue a building permit for this use because it would be permitted in this location. We've also determined that the covered infield area is sufficiently enclosed by roof and fencing to conform with the requirement that all business service be conducted within a completely enclosed building. We have an address for the main lumberyard part, and we have an address for the brick building that are separate. The city's fire marshal is recommending that the current owners request an address assignment change from 211 East Walnut to a 4th Street address, since the main entrances to this facility will face 4th Street. And then we've identified one proposed wall sign on the plans, and if the board wishes to approve the yard wall sign as part of this application, it needs to make sure to reference that in any motion approving the certificate of compatibility. So we've outlined some findings. Again, we're talking about multiple requests here. As to the demolition request, that white metal structure, because of its physical condition and location, staff's view it detracts from and doesn't contribute to the architectural character of the downtown area. And removal of the structure will result in a more positive and appropriate visual effect on the 4th Street corridor than leaving it where it is. So we think that demolition of that building, although we didn't refer to this board, would have met the criteria for demolition. One of the things you need to find with the further information that we receive would be that the building design materials will be compatible with the predominant building materials along 4th Street of the downtown area. And so we do have a clearly defined primary entrance and street level entrances, so the proposed buildings will be pedestrian friendly and accessible. We just feel like additional information about the design, materials, and colors are needed. So we've got 2 action items to consider, one on the demolition request and one on the exterior modifications. So after all the information is presented at today's meeting as to the demolition request, you could retroactively approve a certificate of compatibility for the demolition of the metal structure. You could approve demolition of that retroactively, subject to any conditions that you want to impose. You could postpone consideration in order to obtain additional information concerning the proposal. You could deny the demolition request as presented, but if you do so, you will have to provide further direction to the applicant and staff as to where we go from there. We would recommend option 1, and under that option, you would be authorizing post-demolition issuance of the demolition permit. As to the exterior modifications, you could approve a certificate of compatibility for the training facility and accessory parking lot, either including or excluding the wall sign. You could ask to consider signage at a later date. You could approve the certificate of compatibility subject to any conditions or any revisions to the plan drawings that are identified and approved by a majority of board members. You could postpone consideration if you think additional design details and information is needed, or you could deny the application as presented. So we think this is ready for your action this afternoon, provided that the applicant and their architect provide the additional requested information. And if you receive that to your satisfaction, we would recommend option 2 as to the exterior modifications. If there's no additional information provided about the exterior materials and colors, then we would recommend postponing consideration until that information can be provided. So with that, Dustin has gone through a number of graphics, but if board members have any questions of staff, or you'd like Mr. Hers to show you a particular plan view or drawing, please let us know.
Okay. How about if we take care of the demolition request first, get that out of the way, then we can discuss the exterior modifications and such. So does anyone have any comments or questions about the demolition? If not, I'll accept a motion on that matter, the demolition request.
I'll make a motion that we go with the request to do the retroactive.
Okay.
That would be option one.
Option. Yes.
And I think that's what was recommended, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Option one. Yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Jennifer made the motion and Katie seconded it. Any further discussion from anyone? All right, then.
Do a roll call, and those in favor of retroactively approving the certificate of compatibility for the demolition, Board Member Noonan,
Aye.
Board Member Kitchen,
Aye.
Board Member Martins.
Aye.
That motion carries, and so there's been a certificate of compatibility approved for demolition of the metal structure. So that would move us to the exterior modifications, and staff feels like we didn't provide you with a lot of information or detail because we couldn't find some of that information as we were reviewing the drawing. So that might be an opportunity for the applicant to provide additional detail.
Okay. And did the applicants know ahead of time about this information or request?
Well, we included that information in the packet that we sent.
Okay. Right. Okay. So they got a copy of all that. Right. Okay. Well, I guess we can start out with the applicants. They're filling us in on some of the information then. I think they're on mute right now. So they're. Jacob's on mute still. There we go.
Okay, hi, this is Jacob Wilson. So with the north exterior building, we're proposing to retuck point all the existing masonry. We don't propose any color changes to that building. We want to keep it consistent with the red brick and what is happening there with the car museum to the north. The roof material is the same roofing material, the white TPO that we've used on various buildings in the downtown area, and the same material. They just re-roof the buildings to the north with the car museum. Building B, the steel structure, the steel will be black in color, and the fencing will be black in color. We are proposing to have a wall along 4th Street that the field would be elevated to protect the field, and the wall will be a poured concrete wall. The last build.
About how tall would that wall be?
It's going to be about 2 feet tall.
Okay.
The last building on the south end, building C on the plans, will have a black roof. We were hoping to do a standing seam black metal. We are having some issues with availability due to COVID. So we are proposing to do a black asphalt shingle on that roof. The siding would be a lifetime 50-year limited warranty material that would be in a board and batten pattern, and we're proposing the color for that to be black also.
And I'm sorry, what pattern was that again?
Board and batten.
And you'll have to explain that to me, please.
So it's basically just sheets of siding, 4x8 sheets of siding that the seam, the butt seam of the siding is trimmed out with a decorative vertical strip.
Okay.
And what would that siding material, what's the base material of the siding? Is it party board or?
Yes, it's a LP fiber board. So very similar to a hardy.
So when you say the fencing is black, what kind of fencing is it? I'm just, in my mind have chain link fence, which I'm sure is not accurate, but
Right.
a lot of fencing. And so I'm just thinking the visuals on the street there.
Yeah, it'll be a black iron fence. It will not be chain link. It's going to be a decorative fence there. The goal is to make this try to resemble what you would see in a common baseball ballpark. And what you're seeing on the rendering is actually netting that is giving the visual look of chain link, but that is actual netting that you're seeing that will prevent baseballs from flying out of this area onto the street. On the other side of the netting will be actual iron fencing. So when you see this, you're just seeing the netting.
Yeah, that's what made it look like chain link, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So it will have netting and iron fencing is what you're saying.
Correct.
It's not really showing there.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Dean, you'd also commented on the different, or in the packet, and there's about the varying window sizes and variations and stuff. What?
Yeah, we got some earlier versions and later versions, and I don't know, Dustin, that you have the black and white elevation drawings from the packet. There were two different color renderings that had different style windows on them, and we just wanted to, there's a black and white set of elevations, Dustin, and we're looking at building C.
Well, and I also noticed on building C that on the west side of the building, the door on the black and white drawings is in the middle. And then on the elevations, it's on the north set of windows are opening, and just curious.
So yeah, can you go back, Dustin? So this picture here, along the view along 4th Street, those will just be windows. There will be no doors on that side, on the east side. On the west side, it'll be the same exact opening size as the east side, and the storefront door will actually be in the, it's in the correct spot here. So it'll be in that bay right there. But it will actually be a double door. And the location of that is located there because the pitchers will actually stand on that end, and for safety purposes, somebody won't walk into that building and be hit by a baseball.
The other question I had in previous meetings that we've had, the signage has been a big concern on per square foot based on the facade, how it's lit. And I didn't see any of that in the packet at all, and didn't know if there are different rules here than on Santa Fe, or if that is a concern as well.
One of the things that we mentioned, it's not uncommon at all for a case like this where that the building part comes first, and then as additional details are worked out, the sign package comes back as a separate item. But we've also had circumstances where we've had applicants who said, well, when the board was reviewing my building elevations, we had a sign on there and we just assumed that they approved it. So what we've identified here is that is identified on the sign. We don't have the details. To us, it looks like a painted wall sign, so it's not likely to be illuminated, but they have lots of frontage on 4th Street, so there's no issues about the size of the sign. It's just that we didn't know whether other signs might be proposed, and we didn't know whether that was kind of conceptual, and that the additional final sign plan would be worked out later. So we're simply calling attention to the fact that it's on the drawings. And so what we've had happen in the past is the sign is not mentioned at all in the board's action, and then it's left into question whether the board consciously approved the sign or not. So your options are to include the elevations with detailed signage coming back later, or if you feel like, and if the applicants feel like this is the sign they want to have and they'd like to have it approved this afternoon, then we would just want to make sure that that was a conscious decision of the board.
Are there other, I mean, has there been enough information? Because the way I read the packet made me feel like postponement without significant more detail is what we needed to do. And I'm asking for staff's guidance on whether or not there's.
Well, we asked specifically on the north building about proposed building and roof material, whether exterior color will be changed. And essentially on the north building, that would be tuck pointing only, and the building will continue to match what the car museum's doing. So to us, that satisfactorily addressed that. We asked about the color of the metal roof and the fencing for the turf infield portion, and that was addressed by indicating it would be painted black metal with a black powder coated fence. And then the south building, they clarified that with the black asphalt shingles and the black fiberboard panels. And I think we've got clarification on the windows and doors on the south building. So it's a judgment call for the board, but those are the three things we asked specifically about, and staff feels like the applicant has addressed each one of those at this afternoon's meeting. It's just that said we've often had staff reports that we prepare that were focused on the exterior modifications to a building, and there's kind of a conceptual placeholder for a sign or whatever, and it's never clear whether the applicant is requesting that the sign be approved, and oftentimes it's not clear that the board has reviewed and approved the sign. So your choice today would be to approve the exterior modifications in the new construction, but to defer any action on signage till there's additional detail, or maybe there's a proposal for more signs. Or you could include the painted wall sign as part of your approval of the exterior modifications. That's the board's choice.
And there will be a future proposal for more signage. So we did.
So we could leave that out and do it all as one.
You could take note of it, but you could, the option one I have there is that you could approve the certificate of compatibility for the training facility, but excluding the proposed wall sign, and then they would just have to come back when they had a full sign package.
Okay.
And for clarification, building B, the batting field, whatever, building B, again, the picture showed it looked like kind of a brick or cinder block base where they said it's going to actually just be poured concrete. So
That is correct.
Just the concrete color, not.
Yes.
Okay. And the building will be solid black and not the brownish tone that it showed.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And I guess, well, I don't think I have anything there. And Dean, are you satisfied enough with what he talked about the siding, the materials and stuff to understand?
Yeah, you would just have to you have to, I don't know, Dustin, do we have a photograph of what that building was when it was part of the construction warehouse?
Yeah, I've seen it. I know it wasn't much.
Yeah, give me a moment here.
So yeah, so that building there, is going to be changed with the exterior being the black asphalt shingles and the black LP fiber board. So it's certainly, that's an improvement over what's there today. It's just it's your judgment call as to whether that exterior material would be compatible with the predominant materials, and the colors would be compatible with the 4th Street streetscape. So I
I
think
guess that's, sorry, I guess that's one thing I wonder about, a solid roof, black roof and black siding, but I don't,
we're not, and that maybe the applicant can clarify that. On the drawings we had, it wasn't going to be clear whether there was going to be any kind of contrasting trim or anything like that, or if it was just a solid black with no trim or contrast colors. So that may be still a question.
Yeah, the future signage on the south end will be the contrasting piece for the building.
So the exterior walls, although black, they'll be, where you're seeing solid walls today, will be much more open windows on both the east and west side. And then on the south side, the blank wall will be modified with probably a future wall sign. So that would help visualize that.
anybody else have any questions? I guess I'm still kind of visualizing and trying to figure out the materials and stuff a little bit on that building, but anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay. And okay. I guess from Dean and Dustin too also, so a solid black building doesn't seem like that's in contrast with the downtown issues, okay, at all?
Well, probably with if you're looking at the core downtown with Santa Fe and that, it's slightly different. The design guidelines say use colors to create a coordinated color scheme for a building. It doesn't necessarily discourage having a single color. It just encourages the use of contrasting colors to highlight architectural details and upper facades. This building doesn't have an upper facade, and the contrast is really being provided by the windows,
Yeah,
and the signage. So except for the south wall, we're not talking about just blank, solid black walls. And so I think we need to take into account the open areas associated with the large windows.
okay.
I guess I have a question. What size are those windows? I think that would help me, because I had a little bit of concern of how much black when I was looking at it. It didn't necessarily feel like it kind of flows with the rest of downtown, but I would agree that windows can create a good balance. What are the specs on those?
They're 10 foot tall and 12 feet wide each section. So you'll have 36 feet of windows on each side.
And I assume there's some sort of protection from the inside that when you're.
Yes, there's the netting on the inside too.
All right, kind of protect the windows, okay.
Yeah.
Are you expecting to paint the inside like bright colors? Will it be black too?
No. Well, the ceiling is possibly going to be black, but there's there's a bunch of reclaimed 2x12s that were in this building that will make up the wall
Okay,
design inside.
okay.
And then you said the brick area is going to match the museum, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
Dustin, I don't know if we can measure, have measurements on that. I was estimating that building, the south building had about 72 feet of total street frontage on 4th Street. And if the windows are 12 feet wide, that would give you an indication of how much of that total frontage is going to be devoted to windows, which is going to be quite a bit.
Yeah, that building is 70 feet long by 30 feet wide.
And I don't believe we have anybody from the public present for comments. So, are we ready? I'm ready to accept any motion.
I would move that we accept as option 1, excluding the proposed wall sign at this time, and also including the that if there's any significant changes to the project, that development service staff will be notified.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the certificate of compatibility for the proposed training facility exterior modifications, excluding any approval of a wall sign. And we'll take a roll call on that motion. Board Member Noonan,
Aye.
Board Member Kitchen,
Aye.
Board Member Martins.
Aye.
Okay, so we have those 2 action items that came before you this afternoon, the demolition request and the proposed exterior modifications, including the infill construction. And so you have taken action on both of those items. We don't have any administrative items or preliminary discussion items for you. In terms of other business, going to request the chair consider allowing us to schedule, since we're officially on a once a month schedule during these current circumstances, to consider holding a special meeting on the 28th, 2 weeks from today. Each of our boards and commissions is supposed to submit an annual report of its activities from the previous year to the City Commission. And in order for us to put all that together for your review to pass on to the City Commission, we would like to have that considered at the meeting on the 28th, so we can have your review and any comments or questions you have before we would pass that along to the City Commission. Sometimes useful, you just get a refresher of what you did the year before. Sometimes you don't remember all the things that you did, but we had a fairly large number of cases in 2020. So that would be our request, that the chair consider scheduling a meeting the 28th of January so we could present that report for your review.
Okay. It's just something I decide, right? It's not a.
Yeah, it's
Right.
up,
And
it's
I'm
up there's
agreeable. That sounds fine on the 28th.
Okay. So we will count on that, and then we will check with Dustin to see if there's any members of the public that are in the meeting that might want to speak at a public forum.
Currently, we do not have anybody present from the public. And just to reiterate what Chair Martin said when we were taking our last action, there weren't any interested parties from the public that wanted to make public comment either. So in both the case, we just voted on, and now the public forum, we don't have anybody from the public.
Right then. Well, if there's no other other items to be reviewed, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Either way, however you want to put it.
And all.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn today's meeting. Those in favor, Board Member Noonan,
Aye.
Board Member Kitchen,
Aye.
Board Member Martins.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn has been passed.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.